Very pleased to meet everybody. This is TE 899, which next year will be, I believe, will be 827. So I'm glad to have you in class this summer. This class is kind of an overview at the graduate level for English as a second language. And I'm going to, in this little short video, I'm just going to talk about the syllabus. I've got another basically introduction. It's really for the first week, but I've kind of decided I'm using the modular format. And but I want to focus on, since I think we have about 12 people in the class, we should be able to engage in some pretty personal interaction. I'm excited because I want to try some different things rather than give you too many videos to watch, which I sometimes am guilty of. I'm going to make most of those videos. And in addition, in this class, I'm going to have a couple of times, or maybe 3 times, when I'm going to have one of my colleagues here to either I'm going to read emails that you've submitted, or maybe we'll have a live interaction where you can talk. I'm going to try to record it. One of the people is Chandra Diaz, and she is very active in Hispanic civil rights issues in the state. She's also a middle school specialist, and she's a real exciting person. Has a lot of knowledge of culture. And another one is LaDawn, and I have to beg forgiveness on her last name. LaDawn is teaching in our speech program in terms of speech pathologies, what it used to be called. And she's going to be, has a really interesting background. She's done a lot of research in bilingualism, dual language, particularly in brain function. And she's applied it in more than just, ESL type or dual language instruction, but actually with people that are experiencing, I think I talked to the other day, people that have experienced dementia and not Parkinson's, but dementia and maybe Alzheimer's, and how dual language but being bilingual or trilingual can impact that. And so she got her degree at the University of Montreal in Canada, and we can run in all kinds of directions when she is answering questions. But I want to kind of use this class as an interaction. I also have one of the assignments is actually to have you in probably 2 or 3 small groups, and then we'll talk about English as second language. In a way, it's going to be somewhat like doing the discussions on Canvas, but we'll be able to see each other, and hopefully we can be on here at the same time. Now, I know that may not be possible, and I can't expect you to be on here live at the same time. I'm assuming most of us are in the United States. I think so. But we can share experiences and make the class as if we're sitting in the same room. So that's one thing I wanted to try. So I like to use summer classes, do something different. I don't want to just put up videos and say, this is the canned material I'm distributing to you. It's kind of like we used to have the old TV dinners, which they still have. They call them something else. You just stick them in there and boom, you either got tacos and quesadillas frozen that you've done in the microwave, or you put them in the oven. You've got turkey and mashed potatoes and gravy, or some of those quick frozen meals. I like to have something a little more exciting than that. This class is beginning on this Monday, June 17th, and I'm recording this a couple days early. I like to react to the class so that I don't just produce modules that are already in advance created and you just go through and watch them and do your assignments and we just call it good. That's not very exciting. I did want to mention, I've got a lot of stuff in here in state standards on the syllabus when you download it, but I'm going to be focusing on the assignments, which I think I tried to cut these down to very specific. One of those would be a resource paper for ESL professionals. I've already had people do something like that in the other classes, but in this case, this class, I would like you to explore what you need in your particular area. Say you're teaching in Grand Island or you're teaching in Scottsbluff. What are the resources you need that are accessible for you? And of course, I'll bring up things like, you know, the state Nebraska Department of Education has ESL people in it. But you may, because of where you're at, you will have local resources. You may have a certain individual that works in the administration or another teacher. So your resources may be different. The key is that whatever person or website or state agency you have to contact or whoever that is, they have to be accessible to you or they're no good. So, so we're going to do a resource paper, and it's basically going to be a list, and it's going to be like kind of like the annotated bib I've had people do, but it's going to be specific to your area. We're going to have discussions. We'll have 5 of those. We're also going to do an interview. Now, I know some of you may have done an interview before, but I would like you to focus more on an administrator if you can. And I'll give you more details in that, but I've got information in here. And then one of our projects will be to actually have a live Zoom discussion with, say, anywhere from 3 to 5 people in the class. I'm going to try to not put you all in one group because I want to have time for people to interact and ask questions. I won't have all the answers, and neither will anyone else at the time, but we'll be responsible for following through on that. Okay, so, and I've got a fairly detailed in the syllabus discussion of what these are. I don't use a rubric like a framework. This is adequate, this is inadequate, this is poor, this is outstanding. I basically write down my rubric and try to describe everything. But we've only got 4 weeks, so I would like to emphasize more intellectual, helpful information rather than a lot of rote information. Now, the book I've chosen, I've switched books. Last year I used something called it was a workshop, a type of shelter workshop for ESL students. But this one's called What School Leaders Need to Know About English Learners. And the emphasis now is to read this and think about when you deal with principals and superintendents and other people, you become the voice for your students. Now, I got a class this summer, it's on advocacy in the law. So I'll obviously talk about that in that class. I'll mention some of that in this class. But how do you get information? What do they need to know? And I like this because it's from the TESOL people, the National Association of Secondary School Principals also is a part of this. And the idea is, how do we make change in your schools, and how do you present information to your superintendent and your principal? You know, it's one thing to talk to the students and the parents. It's another thing to get fellow teachers and other people in your school to understand the situation and to work with you. So that's what I wanted to emphasize is practicality. I think that's huge. And I'm going to be doing a video for the first week, and I may do a couple of them. I know I've got the assignments written out here, and I'm a little bit old-fashioned. I actually have written down for the first time, and I've kind of written down what I want to say to you. And I just typed it all out. And I'm going to give it to you, and you can listen to me or you can read it, whatever. But I just want to kind of give you an idea. And then the first week, I'm going to emphasize doing an introduction. Now, I've kind of debated about those culture maps. I've had you do maps. I don't want to do the same thing every time, so I may do a variation on it or invite you to do whatever kind of map you want to do. But I'll put that in for the first assignment, and that'll be done in the discussion. I think with the modular format, I won't have that problem of having the assignment, because when I put it on Canvas, then it would show up in the grade column. You say, I don't have a grade for my assignment. Well, the assignment was to do a discussion or to do a paper or something. That's a separate column. So I'm going to give you the assignment in the module. And I don't believe that's going to show up in the grade column. If it does, forgive me. But I just want to introduce you to the class. I know you got other stuff going on this summer. You don't just live for the summer, so you can take classes with me or online. But I want to emphasize, I want to make it intellectually stimulating and interesting. So that's why I'm kind of going with these videos. And I promised myself I'm going to speak focused and quickly and not try to be funny, not that I'd be unsuccessful at it, but I think it's very important that you get the videos and you're able to watch them. I do have a couple I will be presenting, but the areas that we'll be looking at, and I may put a big circular diagram up, but I'm going to be looking at what you need to know about English as a second language, a little bit of the history of it. And I want to go back a couple of thousand years. Now, English wasn't there a couple of thousand years ago, but Roman and Greek, the Latin language of the Romans and the Greek. And I want to kind of look at the issue of second languages, because sometimes we forget that second language can be an imposition on the other culture. It depends on how you present it. The idea of we're going to wipe out your language and everybody's going to speak English is kind of a genocide approach toward language, because when people lose language, they lose everything from the past they remember from it. So part of what we want to talk about is the history of English second language, and in the class, I also want to emphasize resources. I've already mentioned assignment on that, and knowing about the culture of your students. I talk about that in 804 when I teach that class, multicultural. But you need to find out about your students. And then you also have to know about teaching methods, what works and what doesn't work. Now, I talk about all that in other classes. As I said, this is kind of an overview. So I'm probably going to have a little circle out there with the squares, or probably divided in fourths or fifths, to say let's think about the wholeness of being an ESL teacher, that it's not all just about having the best materials from certain companies and how to do testing, but also how to deal with students and how to deal with people in your school that may not understand, because you want to start out with the right attitude, that even if they're kind of bigoted or negative, you want them to be, you want to educate them, but not be condescending in your approach or too demanding at the same time. That's all I got to say on that. So I'm going to cut this off right now, and I will be putting out the first video. I'm going to go ahead and send this one to you. You already have the book, and I'll probably send the syllabus and the book out as an email to your UNK email account in advance of opening the class up, just so you have this. And this little video is going to be on YouTube. And I look forward, because I know several of you from other classes.